Guests are beginning to arrive for the state dinner at the White House in honour of Australia. It's the last event in a day full of formalities and frank discussions for the two world leaders. We're joined by our political editor, Andrew Clennell, and Sky News Washington correspondent, Annalise Nielsen. Annalise, just set the scene for us. How's the day all played out so far?
Well, look, it's been a day full of formalities, which is exactly what you'd expect. But right now we have the few first arrivals for the state dinner here at the White House. So we can show you a couple that have come through. And pretty much the driving force behind AUKUS for us. Miami-Dade co-mayor Danielle Levine-Carver, Andrew McKellar from ACCI, Taryn Brumfitt, and Dr. Zali Yeager. These are just the first of what's expected to be quite a few arrivals here for the state dinner, but we want to set the scene for how this day has played out. We know America knows how to roll out the red carpet when they want to impress their guests. Here's a glimpse at the military welcome for Prime Minister Anthony Albanese.
So it's been a massive day. Anthony Albanese and Joe Biden met in the Oval Office earlier. Then they held a joint press conference before this state dinner this evening. It's clear that China and Anthony Albanese's upcoming visit there to see President Xi was basically most of the discussion, if there wasn't a bit, obviously, on the Israel conflict as well. And Joe Biden, he didn't have to, but he wanted to say some things in front of the media, which makes you perhaps think he wanted President Xi to hear them, as well as the Australian Prime Minister and Australian press, about his conversations with President Xi, pointing out that President Xi had been pretty negative about the AUKUS nuclear submarine agreement and about how friendly America was with Australia. One of those comments was in the Oval Office and one was in his press conference. Have a listen.
Well, I was asked by Xi Jinping a couple of years ago why I was working so hard with your country. And I said, because we're a Pacific nation. He looked at me and said, yeah, we're a Pacific nation, the United States. We are. We're going to stay that way. When we put together the deal, I was asked by Xi Jinping, were we just trying to surround China? I said, no, we're not surrounding China. We're just making sure that the sea lanes remain open. He doesn't unilaterally be able to change the rules of the road in terms of what constitutes international airspace and water space.
Now, Tom, I heard a live cross from a CBS reporter out on the lawns this morning and obviously asked by their anchor, or her anchor, that why was this thing going ahead when we had the Israel conflict going on? And her response was, well, the invite list went out quite a long time ago. And the White House is saying that it's important to show shows of strength of allies at this time. So while many might find it a little peculiar, we've got this big ceremony, it's business as usual, the state dinner that's been planned for a while, there is some method to that, and that is just to show a show of strength between two strong allies at this time. And I dare say it's been pretty useful for Joe Biden to be in Anthony Albanese's ear a week and a half before he sees President Xi.
So almost a case of local media, is it fair to say, Andrew and Annalise, sort of surprised at the elevation, the attention that Australia and the PM are getting?
Yeah, look, this has been a discussion on the US side. I spoke to former Ambassador Arthur Sinodinos yesterday, who is helping some of the Australian businesses here with their meetings around this visit. And he said the discussion from the White House was very much, look, this has to go ahead, not least because of the points Andrew mentioned, but also because they cancelled on the Quad meeting. And so it would have been a bit of a double whammy if they then all of a sudden pulled this out as well. There have been changes made to the state dinner tonight. For instance, the B-52s were supposed to perform, but they decided a rock band might not be the best mood setting at the moment. And so the White House and the First Lady's office, and they set the agenda and all the decor and everything for the state dinner, then said, look, we're going to have a more military theme instead. But Andrew's quite right. This is a tight rope to walk for Anthony Albanese at the moment, coming here in these circumstances. The US really rolling out the red carpet. We're getting everything they throw at foreign visitors, even if, as we said before, the French might have gotten a bit of a fancier meal than we're getting. But what we have seen is a lot of focus on the fact he's meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping next week. And this is the huge point of contention for US politicians. It's the one thing that unites the Democrats and Republicans, is they're worried about China and they want to push back against China's assertiveness. And so here was the very diplomatic answer from Anthony Albanese when he was asked during the press conference about how he's going to approach that meeting and why he's going.
It is in Australia's interests as well as China, but I believe in the global interests for us to have a relationship where there is dialogue. And hence I welcome the fact that I have been invited to China. I'll be travelling at the same time as we will commemorate 50 years since the first visit by an Australian Prime Minister, Gough Whitlam.
Anyway, I think it's fair to say, Tom, this has been the most momentous day in Anthony Albanese's 27-year parliamentary career and 18 months as Prime Minister. He's never experienced anything like this, and he's pretty pumped up. That's what usually happens to Australian Prime Ministers when they come to this sort of event. But it has been, as we've said, a tightrope to walk, almost feeling a bit awkward when the President was talking about President Xi and China there, in terms of, OK, mate, you're seeing me now, but you're seeing the guy we see as an enemy in about a week and a half. But so far the PM's managed to walk that tightrope, Tom.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one, just as we're sort of normalising relations as well. But as you say, walking it OK. We'll see if it has any ramifications. Andrew and Annalise, we'll let you move on. I'm sure they're sort of shepherding you to the next moment, whatever else is going to happen. We've got continued live coverage as the morning here and the evening unfolds in Washington.